If you were anything like me and are just thinking, God, can't we have a civil discussion on hot topics? You got a home here. Welcome to the Go Show, celebrating all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor playground, state, nation, and world that we live in. And as you can see on your screen, that's John Colazar right there, the man who is ubiquitous in the outdoor conservation space. And it almost seems that John Colazar, because he's been on every board of every critter group, conservation group you could possibly name, it's just maybe he just says, you know what? I only have 18 things to do in a day, so I need 19 and 20. So I'm going to find this issue. My man, John Colazar, we're talking horses today. Why did you decide to take up the mantle when it comes to feral horses or pet horses, as we might discover soon, here in the great state of Arizona?
It was pretty easy. I had hunted in the units 3C and 4A and 4B since 1988.
Oh,
and I never saw a horse. I was drawn for a tag in 2004, my first bull tag since they started the draw system. And it was an early season rifle tag. And all during that time, I toured a lot of the area that had burned because the Rodeo Chetasky fire had burned through in 2001. There were no fences at that time. 52 miles of fence line was down. And I was absolutely appalled at what I was seeing because the Forest Service had done aerial seeding to try and regenerate parts of the forest that weren't basically incinerated. Okay. And it created on the river, on all the creek bottoms and the low ends, it created like a candy store. Wildlife got sucked in from everywhere because it was such a great playground. And then I noticed horses, not just one, not just two, bands of them. They were all along what I call the 300 road, which is south of Heber and Overgard, and they came over in droves. And by the time I had another tag in 2005, I was like, what's going on? I mean, there's hundreds of them now. And so I started keeping account and keeping an eye on it. And I write an article for the Arizona Elk Society in the Tracker, and I have a mythical friend that I talk to. It's a big bull called BB. And BB and I have conversations, and BB noticed it back in 2006 and 7. Well, I followed it, and I became concerned when the horse advocates filed suit to stop the roundup of the horses. And that was
okay. So hold on, let's back up a little. Let's back up a little bit. So we're in 05. And we're in 05, 06. We're in that area, and there's actually rounding up of horses. So why did they start initially rounding up horses? And when I say they, who the hell am I talking about when I say they?
Forest Service. The Forest Service started roundups because they knew what was happening. I mean, it was really obvious. And the horse advocates filed suit in 2006. 2007, a federal judge mandated that they come up with a management plan. And that management plan had to be accomplished before they could do any other activity. Well, I've been beating the drum since 2007 for the management plan to come out. It came out this year. Final approval this year.
Okay, was that later. Government? Was that government?
Yeah, government at its finest.
Okay, government.
I got to say this in defense of some of them.
Okay.
Forest Service supervisors, they change positions like I change underwear once a week.
Okay. Right.
I mean, it's that bad. They move regularly.
Okay.
But I've been really blessed to know the last three really well, and they've done a remarkable job. Anthony Madrid, who got bumped up because he was that good a guy. He was moved to Albuquerque. Judy Palmer, and now Josh Miller. And Josh Miller finally has the support of an administration that says, get this junk figured out. And so they did. And they came up with a management plan that called for the removal of all the horses.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now you from have to a certain area or the state of Arizona?
Any horse that is identified in the Heber, Overgard, Woods Canyon, Show Low, Pine Top, any of that area, gone.
Wow.
And here's the logic. In 1973, the Forest Service and the Apache Sitgreaves identified 7 horses in the Heber area. Those horses were deemed wild. Okay. Congress set aside 19,000 acres around Black Canyon Lake and said this is a horse territory. And they monitored them every year. Well, out of the 7, only one was male. and he was sterile.
Oh,
Too bad,
man,
so
I was
sad.
going to
I
be
know,
my
I
man.
know.
What's up?
So by the time 1993 came around, there were none left. 94
Okay.
and 95, they have documented there were no horses left. So
Great.
I knew that based on reading the history. And then all of a sudden in 2007, they're claiming these are quote unquote wild horses. They're not. But the Forest Service didn't do anything for all those years.
Now, why aren't
Finally,
they wild horses? Why aren't they wild horses? Again, and I don't mean to hit the brakes on you here. John
Sure.
Colzar is joining us. He is our horse expert and all things going on involved in some legal action we'll get to in a moment as well. But I want to understand this. Why are they considered not wild or wild? Why did you kind of walk that line?
A feral horse, as defined, is one that is in an area that is not an AML or appropriate management level area for horses, or has been identified by either the BLM or the Forest Service as a horse territory.
Okay, got it.
That's the definition. And we know that all the horses that came over from the White Mountain Apache tribal lands are feral horses. They're their horses. There's no question about that. But the horse advocates claim that all those horses that are there now, because they're the progeny of the ones who were from the White Mountain, are basically wild. And my claim is progeny of feral horses don't have birthright into our forest.
Okay. Now, I must say I'm not disagreeing with you there at all, but
no, but
what John, why? Okay, we haven't really established why. Who cares, man? It's a symbol of the American Wild West. The horses. Oh, look at this, and all the little girls that wanted My Little Ponies for Christmas and wanted a pony for their Sweet 16. They're all singing at the same time. John, why would we get rid of horses? They're beautiful. Talk to me. Why is this even an issue?
Okay, let's look at it this way. We know that it probably 300 to 400 came over from the Mountain Apache tribal lands.
Okay.
Every other animal in the United States, except for horses, is managed. Elk, deer, antelope, cattle. With every other animal, we hunt them or the ranchers take them to market. They're livestock. And so what we had was a single species that was never managed. And they do what they do well: eat, breed, and defecate. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we've gone from 400 to over 2,000.
Okay.
My concern as an advocate for conservation is, number one, a balanced forest. And number two, we've lost over 1,000 tags a year now between deer and elk in that unit. And it's getting worse.
Okay, now let's explain that. So we've lost over 1,000 tags. What that means and what that is indicative of, what it shows, and tell me if I'm wrong, John, is that these horses are running game out of the units, and therefore Game and Fish say, okay, well, we don't need to take this because we have fewer elk, we have fewer deer, so we're obviously going to issue less tags. So that's kind of the canary in the coal mine, really, is if you start seeing tags drop, you're thinking populations are dropping, correct?
Yeah. In the last 10 years, we've gone from over 600 deer tags to 60 in that unit. And at one time, it was a really good unit. Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of tags.
That's 90% gone.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so what's happened is, and people don't understand this, horses are just like any other animal. They're trying to make a living out there. I don't have nothing against horses.
Yeah.
But they drive off all other wildlife from water holes, and they push them out of grazing areas. Water holes. So
that's hard for me to believe. That's hard for me to believe because I see a horse, and I've been on horses. I've been around horses. I love horses, and I've been around elk. Mm-hmm. And not when I had a tag, mind you, but I've been around elk every time I haven't had a tag. And it seems to me that a bull elk would whoop some horse booty. You know what I mean? I mean, come on.
Not at all.
Really?
Ooh, really. I watched 2 years ago, we had tags in 3C, archery tags, and I was given a wrist rocket, and we'd plunk them to drive them off the water. They kept coming back. There was nothing we could do. And we watched as 2 4x4 bulls were coming down to water in one particular spot, and the stud drove them off.
Wow.
They'll turn around and they'll leave because water is that precious out there, and they know it. That's why that's the stud's job. Protect his, his little harem, make sure they have water and food. He was doing his job. The only problem is there's nothing for anybody else.
And then for those that don't know, there are great people in the state that haul water up to these what we call drinkers, these tanks,
Yep.
and they fill them up in the dry times, so all of God's animals can have a little sip and stay there and not take off, not go find water, because that's what an animal will do. If there's no food, there's no water, they leave. Right? How long are you going to sit in a restaurant when they come out and tell you in the kitchen, we have no food, we have nothing, stick around?
NFL,
no, you're going to leave and go somewhere else. And so that is exactly what those will do. So what you're saying is these horses will sit these drinkers, sit these tanks, sit any water area and run off wildlife until they can't have a drink until that's all gone.
Correct. Absolutely 100% correct.
Okay. Now, that's a problem.
Does it happen in good times? I've seen elk and deer and horses once in a while at the same big watering hole, but never in a small pothole, never in any of the stock tanks. And now Game and Fish won't haul water anymore to dirt tanks. They won't do that anymore. It only goes to catchments and to the big drinkers. That's it.
And they won't do it because of the horses?
No, because what happens, it's the law of diminishing returns. Because we've had so much drought, and that's been a factor in the reduction of tags. There's no question, but nowhere near as much as the horses have been. But what happens is when a stock tank dries up, they dry up and they crack. And that basically on the bottom, it's been lined with bentonite. And you mix bentonite and dirt and it creates almost like a holding shell. But when that cracks, water runs through and it drains out. It's worthless. And then horses, they beat up the berms by constantly hammering, and they're heavier by far than any elk is. They're 1,000-pound animals compared to 500 pounds. And so what they do is they pound down the berms, they bring in the dirt, it silts over, and then it cracks. And then when it rains, it becomes like a goo pile. And then you see pictures of people saving horses, pulling them out of these goo piles because they can't get out.
And then that goes to public sentiment, like, oh, save the horses. And I don't, when I say this, save the horses kind of vibe, and I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. I understand, and we're getting into the science and the biology of all this, and why your Arizona Game and Fish Department, which is tasked with managing over 820 species of wildlife, only 60 of those, by the way, are game species. So we're the Game and Fish, your Game and Fish Department has to do everything. The most biodiverse non-coastal state in the nation. They got a big job, and now they got a big problem when it comes to horses. And yes, some of these horses are a problem. The horse population overall is becoming a gigantic problem, and that's where guys like John Colazar and his crew are stepping in. So now that we've seen, okay, horses are a problem. And by the way, we were talking about the drinkers. Forget about, I mean, look at vegetation.
Yeah.
It's not like they don't eat.
No. Well, they eat twice as much as a cow and probably 4 times as much as an elk. You have to understand, elk, deer, cows, they have a ruminant system. So they can eat a bunch, go lay down and chew their cut, regurgitate it, chew it up. And horses don't have it. Horses have a biological pass-through. And that's why basically what you see in their droppings is just chip the stuff that they ate passes right through. It's not like that with deer or cows, anything like that. It's a very different beast. And that's why they have to eat more and they travel more.
Okay. So let's get to numbers, because we're establishing this. So trust me, we're going to get to John's article in Western Hunter as well. And we're going to get to a call to action here on how you can get involved in this. But let's get to the brass tacks here. Now, I believe surveys have been done, correct?
There's a number of surveys that have been done. And let's go national. The politicians in the East, in D.C., they all use the BLM numbers of how many horses we have in the West.
And that's Bureau of Land Management.
Correct.
Not the other BLM. Okay, got it.
No. And their claim is there's 83,000 horses out there on their lands, which is true. And if you look at the BLM stats for Arizona, it says Arizona has 255 horses in it.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does if you think about it. That's only BLM land. We have a very tiny fragment of BLM land on the far western edge of the state that butts up to Cali. And there's a little teeny horse range there. That's where the 255 horses are. We have national forest land. We have state trust land. We have tribal lands. We have any other form of government lands that are out there that are not BLM. They don't count them. The Navajo Reservation has over 100,000 horses on their reservation. Those numbers are never counted.
Okay. You said those numbers are never counted. They're never recognized, but they are counted. So there's a survey on the res land, and they're saying that one of the res lands has 100,000 horses on it.
Correct. The Navajo Reservation has, and that's in the report they generated in 2024. I'm sure there's more now. They had over 100,000 horses on theirs. I talked to one of the tribal members from the Wind River Reservation up in Wyoming, and his name was Art Lawson. He's a tribal member. He's the head of their game and fish department. And he indicated to me that we talked about it. They had problems with horses. They had 12,000 horses on their reservation. They got rid of over 9,000 of them. Okay. And the land is slowly recovering, and they keep monitoring the horses to make sure that they don't get any more than they currently have. But it indicated to him, and it's proof, we did the same thing in the Apache forest. We removed over 650 horses out of the Apache National Forest. Now the land is coming back, but it takes a couple years to come back. We assume the same thing's going to happen on the Sitgreaves if they get rid of all the horses. Now, so politicians use the BLM number, 82,000. I know from all the science journals I've read, there's over 320,000 horses across the United States today that are wild, feral, stray, call them what you will. Mm-hmm. That's the problem.
Okay. So we're identifying a problem. Now I'm going to, because you got always, and this is what I've talked about on the show for 13 years. You got to understand the other side before you have any kind of debate. And that other side better be as convicted in their argument as you are in yours, in my realm. We're talking about a potential state of Oregon as a potential ballot, a measure that's going to go on the ballot this upcoming election to eradicate hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
And so, okay. Oh, but at the same time, if I have a debate with someone, better damn well be a vegan. And then I'm going to have I will have a courteous discussion. So let's look at the other side of this horse debate.
Sure.
Again, John, you're talking about getting rid of. When you say get rid of 9,000 on the tribal land, you're talking about getting rid of 600, and you're really saying, talk to me about what get rid of means. How?
Well, there's two ways. Tribal lands are not under the mandates of the United States government. They're their own country. They can do whatever they want. They wanted to take the 9,000 horses and truck them across to Canada because we have no processing or otherwise known as slaughterhouses in the United States. They're all closed. That was courtesy of the horse advocates. They put that little bits and pieces into every rider when they got their money each year. By the way, they get $140 million a year from BLM does to run the wild horse and burro program.
Yeah, don't say when you're talking about slaughterhouses, don't say bits and pieces. Don't use those. Let's kind of remember we're talking to the other side now. So okay, so wait a second. You said processing. You're saying that if they take 9,000 horses, truck them over the border to Canada, Canada gets to process these things, and with process, I mean slaughterhouse. You get to go to basically you're gonna make steaks out of them.
Yeah, and they would then in turn create zoo logs so they could be imported into the United States to feed big cats in the zoos all across the United States.
Okay, we're gonna sit on this for a second. No, we're not just gonna paint over this. John Colazar's with us. He said zoo logs. So and I'm just gonna use these numbers because you said the 9,000. So we're gonna use 9,000 shipped over the border to Canada. Okay,
but they couldn't. That was a problem. Canada, because of pressure from the East Coast, DC, and all the horse advocates, said you couldn't do it. So what did they do? They drove them 2,000 miles to Mexico, and Mexico took them. I think that's terrible for the horses. Period.
Of course it is.
Die, but why put them through all that grief? Because you don't want it to happen in Canada.
this is it. Okay, so it's funny to me, at least to me. And this is me speaking as Mike Russell, not on behalf of this show, nor John Colazar. It's funny to me that the team, the collective, those that are save the ponies, don't you can't you gotta let them all just roam free and do their thing, and they were here first, and yada 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 yada, are the same people that told me for years, trust the science. Okay, we are trusting the science now. And if you are going to be a good advocate for a science, which is, in this case, the North American model of wildlife conservation, if you're going to trust in the science and you are going to be an advocate for the benefit and the betterment of the horses, why in the hell would you, A, let them destroy habitats of other animals, run other animals off, decrease populations and availability of food and water of other species of animal, and then watch as Canada said we can't turn them around, 2,000-mile trip to their slaughter, and that's okay for you. You're okay with that now.
They'd love to.
The double standard is blinding to me.
Yeah, well, they would love to shut down Mexico, and that's what the SAFE Act, which they're trying to get through Congress, is all about. That you can never export a horse anywhere out of the country of the United States.
And you can't, because of federal law, you can't take out any horses or donkeys here in our country, correct?
Yeah, right now.
So basically, they're saying that we have to let this go. They're saying we literally have to just let the horses do what they do because we can't manage them, and we can't send them to Mexico.
Correct.
And by the way, they come back as zoologs. The same people that are screaming and hollering to save the horses are pushing their kids right now through the Phoenix Zoo or any zoo across the country and just turning a blind eye to how those animals, the lions, the tigers, the bears, oh my, are fed with actual horses. So it's okay to them. That's just if they don't see it, it seems to be okay. Am I far off there? I'm sorry, I'm getting a little riled up here.
No, you're not. Now, because of pressure from the horse advocate groups, a lot of the zoos are trying to find different diets for the big cats. They know they don't do well on beef because it's too fatty, but they're working on it. But it still happens. I mean, it still exists where zoologs are brought in to feed the big cat. Period. So.
Okay, now, so what is the other alternative? So we've covered getting rid of means either shipping off to Canada or Mexico, processing, come back to the zoos as zoologs because that's palatable for people to hear. Zoolog sounds a lot better than we're bringing in horse meat. So okay, so zoologs. What's the other alternative?
Unfortunately, the alternative that a lot of these people are talking about right now is, number one, they know they can't touch tribal lands. So they can't dictate to the Native American tribes what they do with their horses. Number two, they want to use PZP or other birth control measures on the mares, which to me, I mean, well, they dart them and then they ovulate, but they can't conceive. They use that on the Salt River horses where they inject them with PZP. The only issue is that the mares come into heat, they cycle every 30 days. And so what you have is a band structure where there's a whole lot of studs who are fighting. Why are they fighting? Because the mares are recognizing inherently, hey, I'm not bearing a baby. If Fred over here isn't cutting the mustard, maybe Big Al will do so. It disrupts some band behavior. That's why you see a lot of fights.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So basically trank darting them with some birth control. And by the way, who signs up for that and how do we sign up for that? Would be a blast. Can we just get out and find these herds and just go, are you going to do it every year?
Huh? How are you going to identify that brown mare versus that brown mare?
No. I just want to sign up and do it. I mean, if they're doing it already, I just want to get the target practice in. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's solid. I like that. And by the way, okay, so I had an idea.
Okay.
If they have this, I mean, again, we put a man on the moon. Let's talk brass tacks here. If this is really a problem, we can do identifying is the thing. So the dart Why can't the dart have some sort of like tattoo ink or something that'll stay permanently on the butt of that animal that we just threw that dart into, so we know next year that we had that one?
Never going to happen. No, there's nothing. Their coats change every winter. You know that.
I'm gonna get to the patent office. I'm gonna work on something here. I'm gonna work on something. You watch. I'm gonna fix this problem, Johnny. We're gonna come to the middle on this.
The inherent cost of doing birth control on 250,000 horses. Give me a break. It's not realistic.
That's a lot of money.
That's a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And
it could be going to other conservation, real conservation.
We have over 80,000 horses in storage. I call them the horse hotels, where they keep them to live the rest of their lives out.
Oh.
Period.
Okay.
That's why we pay $140 million a year. We've spent over $1.2 billion since 2000 on keeping horses in these pastures.
And why isn't anyone saying, here are the damn numbers?
Congress knows. They know. They're appropriating $141 million a year. It's part of a rider that goes on after the fact.
So basically what they're saying is I can't get reelected saying take out My Little Pony.
Oh, no politician can. None.
That's what I'm saying.
Zero, zip.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's become a huge selling point. Now, why is that? Why do you think?
What do you mean, why do you think? I know why.
Yes, 90% of the horse advocates are middle-aged, divorced ladies. They don't have a husband, or if they do, they control the crop. But they were the ones who love horses. I get it. People love horses. That's great. They're pretty. Some of them are different, but they name them. It's called anthropomorphizing them. That's giving human characteristics to an animal. Yep. Like I do in my writing on the articles with BB, where I talk to a bull elk.
BB,
but that's in my head. That's not real. They have names for all these horses out there. I swear. If you talk to Simone Netherlands, every single horse on the Salt River has a name.
Who's Simone Netherlands?
She is the head of the Salt River Wild Horse Management Group.
Because most Arizona thinks the only wild horses we have in Arizona are the Salt River.
Oh God!
I would say a good part. No, come on. Yeah. I would say a good part of the voting, donating, and activist public here in Arizona would say that the Salt River are the only horses that we have that are wild, because that's all they see.
Yeah,
that's as far out in the outdoors as they get.
Well, here, you and I are different. When we want to go hunting to see wildlife, what do? We get up at the butt crack before dawn, dark 30. We drive to our location. We climb to the highest spot. We pull out our binoculars. We find them, and then we get down into them. What do the urbanites ladies do? They get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, have breakfast, pack the kids in their lunch and their paddle boards, drive down to the Salt River, go down.
They stop at Starbucks.
Yep, and then they go down the Salt River and see all these wild horses.
Yeah.
What the public doesn't know is that there are feeding stations all along the Salt River for horses that the public can't get to.
So that means they're not wild.
Of course not. No.
Aren't they pets at that point?
I consider them habituated animals that are dependent on humans for survival.
Pets.
Pets. 1,000-pound pet with a bad attitude if they're not breeding.
They name them.
Oh yeah.
And they're feeding them. So who's filling these feeders?
All of the volunteers for the Salt River Wild Horse Management Group.
Okay. That name them.
Oh yeah.
And then they feed them. They're literally pets. They're pets that are staying in someone else's house. Like I would not mind my dog staying in someone else's house. That would be fantastic. I've named him. I'll send food.
Yeah. Now the state of Arizona and this new representative, a kid named Cody Rime, he's from LD3, which is the Scottsdale area. He came in and we've been trying to talk to him. We've sent numerous emails to him saying, hey, we'd like to talk to you because his stance is that not one horse is removed from the Salt River.
Yeah. He knows where his money comes from. Again, we're talking about politics, not science, not biology, not conservation. We're talking politics and heartstrings.
Yeah. So when I went by 2 weeks ago, I was on a work project in Young. So I drove by the by the Bush Beeline intersection where they have their wild horse management group there. It's the headquarters. I climbed behind the hill. There's a big hill, and I took a short video. I counted over 65 horses in a 3-acre area, all vying for shade under bigger trees and waiting for their next handout. I'll send you the video.
Okay.
It's appalling. Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we've done. Wait, this is a 2-part interview. So here's the deal. This is John Colzar. I appreciate you coming on here, explaining really what is going on, what's going on with the horses, why it's a problem, why it's an issue, why apparently science is not winning in this one. So we got to figure that out. So what I'm gonna have you do is, John, I'm gonna have you stick around. We're gonna record the Wednesday show. Wednesday's going to be the second part of this. We're going to talk about the legislation that's going on. We're going to get into the politics of it, and we're going to get into where you can get involved and where you can catch John's latest article that has been published this week. So that's coming up on Wednesday right here on The Go Show, celebrating all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor playground of state, nation, and world that we live in. We'll see you